Hello, this is Lady Boulay, and hope you're having a wonderful day. Thank you for your support. Thank you for subscribing to the channel. Thank you for your thumbs up, for your comments, and thank you for sharing the videos. Thank you for all you do to support the channel. And yes, we are commanded to love one another, whether we want to or not, or whether we agree with each other or not. Now, I want to speak a truth about Black Americans, and I'm doing it in love. Because we can't talk to each other. We're so quick to get mad. We're so quick to be offended about things when people speak to us. And so we just go on about our business, listening to people, telling us we're victims. Oh, they won't do this for us, and they won't do that for us, and they're just doing this to us, and they don't do this to anybody but us. And some Black people might have that experience. But many Black people don't have that experience. But it's very hard for us to talk to each other. But there is a reason why our voices are not heard by the leadership in America. Now, y'all can come on here talking about, we don't need a leader. There's no leader. You have to have somebody that can be a spokesperson for your group. There needs to be a ruling body of people who make decisions for the group. Not just one person, but somebody needs to be the spokesperson. And then if something happens to that person, there needs to be somebody to step in and take the reins of leadership. One of the problems in the Black church is that a Black preacher will stay there as long as he can walk up there or crawl up in the pulpit. And then when he's gone, sometimes the church just falls apart because nobody has been groomed to take the leadership role, to take his place. And that is a weakness in the Black American structure, because one person gets in a position and they want to stay there forever. But there needs to be a ruling body. And as I said in a video yesterday, that ruling body needs to have credibility. It needs to be somebody that can go to your congressman or your senator or testify before a House or Senate committee and convey to that committee the needs of our community. The government is supposed to work for the people, but the people have to know how the process works. It doesn't work by you talking about people and tearing people down and criticizing everything and then saying what people won't do when you haven't even had a conversation with them to see what they would do. Black Americans of the past who got things done knew how to speak to the powers of their day, even as far back as Frederick Douglass. Frederick Douglass was able to get an audience with Abraham Lincoln. Booker T. Washington met with two presidents, William Howard Taft and Theodore Roosevelt. William Howard Taft was so impressed with the work Booker T. Washington was doing at Tuskegee that he paid a visit to Tuskegee just to see what everybody was talking about. And Theodore Roosevelt invited Booker T. Washington to dine at the White House, of which he received all kinds of backlash because he was the first Black person to dine at the White House. But my point is, Booker T. Washington was able to gain audiences with presidents. You can get somewhere by having an audience with the president. Y'all, please stop coming on here telling me the president doesn't have any power and that he can't do anything without the Congress. We have 3 branches of government. Each one has power within itself. They have checks and balances. They can check and balance each other. But each branch operates within its own powers, and a president can pass laws of its own in the form of executive orders, and the president influences legislation in the Congress. That's how come the president, who is a Republican, wants a Republican House and Senate, or a president that's a Democrat wants a Democratic House and Senate, because they are going to pass laws. And if the president wants them to pass a law, they are most likely going to pass that law. The president also makes recommendations to the Supreme Court. And if he has a majority Democratic Senate, then they are going to confirm that Supreme Court justice in the same way that if a Republican president nominates someone to the Supreme Court, a Republican Senate is going to confirm that Supreme Court justice because the Senate confirms the Supreme Court justices. The President of the United States has power. Black leaders in the 1960s met with presidents and conveyed the need for a civil rights bill and a voting rights bill because black people were still living under Jim Crow law and they were disenfranchised, which means they were being denied the right to vote. A. Philip Randolph of the Pullman Porters, Roy Wilkins of the NAACP, and Dr. Martin Luther King of the SCLC got audiences with John F. Kennedy and Lyndon Baines Johnson. And they got legislation passed, and they got the first black person on the Supreme Court. And when Dr. Martin Luther King was trying to get the Civil Rights Bill passed, he articulated to President Johnson why that Civil Rights Bill needed to be passed. And then Johnson said, okay, now make me pass it. But you do that by knowing how the network works. You do not do that by belly aching on social media. You have to have somebody who knows how to talk to these people, who understand the language, but who know how to convey to the people what the needs of your people are. That's how Asians get a crime bill. That's how the Jews get a crime bill. It's not just about having money. It's about having advocacy and having people who know how to get in the office in the first place to speak to the issues of your group. And the reason nobody is listening to black people because black people are not doing that. Every politician in Washington, D.C. knows that they're there to serve the people, including the president. Kanye West got an audience with Donald Trump. What do you think he asked for? How do you think he advocated for black people? He didn't. He was trying to get Donald Trump to name him his vice president. Now, what that tells us about Kanye West is that he doesn't even know how the process of vetting for a vice president goes. You don't just pick somebody to be your vice president because they were a popular rapper. They have to be able to appeal to a certain constituency that's going to vote for that president. So this is what I'm talking about. Nobody's going to take black people seriously as long as things like that are being done by black people. A content creator on YouTube said that Robert F. Kennedy was meeting with a group of black men and one black man there. Now he has the audience of a Kennedy, someone running for president. And what he said was the biggest problem facing black men is child support. Now who do you think is going to take a man like that seriously? Black voices are not heard because there is a lack of seriousness. There is a lack of respect for the way things are done. I was recently listening to some young black Republicans talking about why they had joined the Republican Party. And I'm sure some of these were children of immigrants, but they were also our children too. And one of the things they said that stood out to me was that they are sick and tired of black people blaming everything on white people. Now that's a new generation, about a generation and a half removed from mine. But I thought that was very profound. They say they want to speak to the positive. They want people to talk about a way forward for them as opposed to making them feel like they are stuck in the mud. And I will admit that some of the young people in my family think like this. They're smart, they're savvy, they're hardworking, they're well educated, and they feel like they can get out there and do just what any white person can do. So they don't want this woe is me, I can't do anything because of white people. The young black people, many of them, just don't want that narrative for their lives. And I can't say that I blame them. So there are things that we can look at for what we can do to make things better so that our voices will be heard. But as long as we're doing the same things, we're not going to be heard because people really expect us to be operating on about the same level as white people. It's not fair. It is not fair. Anytime you've had a 400-year head start on somebody and you're expecting them to catch up and keep up, it's not fair. And this is a part of the legacy that we have, and it's a part of the narrative that we carry and have to convey, but we have to do it in the right way, in the way that people are going to hear us and then do something about it. I think it can be done. I do believe that it can be done. But we have to organize and we have to select representatives for ourselves to speak to the representatives in the United States Congress. Now that's what it's going to take. That's my take on it. Let me know what you think and have a great day.